Okay. Va'al kenaseh b'chol boker. A second, let me make sure I'm in the right place for you. Yes. Okay, so we said so far that the cause of a person's crying comes from his investment in secular wisdom. What do you mean? Because what is it that causes a person to suffer in their life? What is it that causes a person to be angry or sad?
Thinks he controls his life.
He thinks he controls his life, and what else?
And he's a loser.
Okay, that's what you say.
You look good.
When does a person get angry or sad or confused? It's when he feels hopeless.
Right.
When he feels out of hope, right? But David HaMelech tells us that there is no such thing, that even if the knife is on your neck, yeah, to you guy, Baberto, that even if the knife is on your neck, you can never despair of giving up hope. Ein shum yeyush ba'olam klal. There's no such thing as yeyush in the world, right? But what is it? But that's what causes you to cry. But Rabbi Nachman says crying is good. Do you know why? Because when you start crying, then you're going to be open to receive new information. Because the whole cause of the suffering is your investment in false ideology.
Right.
What breaks false ideology? Suffering that leads to tears. I had a conversation. They interviewed me. There's a new Breslov organization called Breslov Life, and they interviewed me, and they asked me like what effect Rabbi Nachman has had on my life and X, Y, and Z, and I spoke about it, and he said like, can you speak to those people who feel that Rabbi Nachman is only for people who have been through the lowest lows? What about those other people that they have not been in those places, that they have not struggled every single day of their life, that they have not been addicted to substances, or they have not been in legal trouble in X, Y, and Z, where they don't have mental health issues? So does he have something to offer to them as well? So I told him, and I really have thought a lot about this, that even deeper than the fact that Rabbi Nachman's students often have gone through very serious trials and tribulations in their life, and therefore they find hope in his teachings. Everybody listen. That the real cause, I believe, of the fact that Rabbi Nachman's students are not the trials and tribulations himself, but the tears and the destruction of secular wisdom that it caused, and now the openness to new information. What happens when a person goes through these challenges in his life? He is held up against the wall. And when you're pushed up against the wall and you can't get over the wall and you keep getting squeezed closer and closer to the wall, what are you going to do?
You're going to break.
You're going to cry. You're going to cry. You're going to cry if the walls keep getting closer and closer and closer. So why do I believe that a lot of Rabbi Nachman students have been through so much? It's not just because they find more hope in his teachings than other people because they've been more down, but because of those challenges, they've acquired something called humility. Has anybody noticed that when have they had breakthroughs in their life? It's often when they've broken completely and then they ask somebody for help.
It's in the word. You have a breakthrough.
Who's the one who asks for help? You can't ask for help unless you're humble. Who are the humblest people?
People that are broken.
People who are broken.
People that are sad.
So what's
people
the real reason?
Missing something.
Everybody's missing something. So what's the real reason that Rabbi Nachman's students are connecting so much to him? It's not just because of his hope. It's because their whole entire logic, their whole entire svara about life, their whole entire investment in secular wisdom is being shattered because it's not leading to their goals taking place. So he says, "V'chol ze naseh b'chol boker." And all of this is called every day. That every morning in the morning arises ayelet hashachar. Shehu bechinat aliyot amur hashachar. Shehu bechinat malchut. That the shachar, which is the light that comes out of the darkness, this is called malchut. Chochma tatal, which is called lower wisdom. We have spoken many times about the fact that in Rabbi Nachman's teachings, he refers to this higher light, or Chochma Ilah, as Moshe Rabbeinu. And he has referred to this lower wisdom, which he calls Emunah, as Chochma Tata, lower wisdom, or David. Or in the 6th Torah of Likutey Halachot, he calls him Yoshua ben Nun, right? Which is what? That in order to get to that higher light of Chochma Ilah, how do you get to that higher light of Moshe Rabbeinu? You need to first go through the lower light. You need to first have Emunah. Why? Because Moshe Rabbeinu is going to teach you things you never learned before in your life. How are you going to be able to accept those things? You need to first clear out a space. And you need to develop something called Emunah. Because only with Emunah can you understand Moshe Rabbeinu. Otherwise, you can't understand Moshe Rabbeinu.
Because like it's like the sun, right? You can't understand the sun.
You can't understand the sun. But through the moon, you can receive the light of the sun. You can actually give it out to the whole world at nighttime. And this is the concept of the shachar. Shnikra shachar, kihu mitzamtzem ha'arot. Because the concept of shachar is that he constricts the sight. Shekol hasagot elokut al yada. And all perceptions of godliness come through this. What's the point? Rabbi Nachman was saying before that every single Jewish person,
Wait, what did you just say? You said shachar constricts the light?
the shachar is the concept of a constricted light, because shachar is the light that comes out of the darkness. It comes out of the dawn, right? When it's completely
So you're
dark,
saying that darkness is a much more intense light than actual light?
you're saying that. You just completely went in a disconnected away from what we were saying. There is complete darkness, and then there is a light that comes out of that darkness. That light that comes out of the darkness is very small. It doesn't start out very big. It's not like sunlight. You have a little bit of light. But that little bit of light that shines out of the darkness, that's called Chokhmatata. That's the beginning of Geula, redemption for you. That's called Emunah. Your way out is Emunah. Ultimately, for you to achieve healing, you need real Chokhmah. Chokhmah is what heals. But the Emunah, it was what brings you to that place. You cannot get to a full day of sun, which is called Chokhmah, if you don't first go through Shachar. And this is Malchut. ועל כן צריכים לגבר מאוד לעמוד בבוקר השכם כדי לעסוק בתורה ועבודה. Therefore needs to strengthen oneself very much in the morning to get up in order to be busy with Torah and avoda. Why do you need to be busy and strengthen yourself to get up with Torah and avoda? כדי שגדל ויעלה ועורר בחינת שחר. In order that you should strengthen and you should elevate and you should arouse the shachar, meaning your emunah, your malchut. That's the lower wisdom. Bechinat ura chivodi, like David HaMelech says, that ura chivodi awakens my honor, and ura, the harp and the lyre, right? And then he says, A'ira shachar, and I will arouse the shachar. What is he speaking about? Emunah. I'm going to arouse emunah in Klal Yisrael. Kadesh yizkeh libchinat hasagat elokut. In order that you should merit to perceptions of godliness. So Rabbi Nachman was saying like this: the most important thing a Jewish person can do in their lifetime is to find their great rabbi. How come you don't just find the rabbi?
You have to buy him.
How come you don't just find him? Or how come you don't just buy him? Why do you need to, as Rabbi Nachman says, search and claw and cry and pray to Hashem that you should find yourself the greatest rabbi? Because he says that to the degree that a person lacks da'at, to the degree that a person lacks consciousness that everything that happens to him is life from Hashem, he is considered spiritually sick. And he says that every tzaddik is a rofe, is a doctor. And therefore, when you need a very serious refuah, you need a very serious doctor. And if you need the greatest refuah in history, then you need the greatest doctor. And he says, what is it that, so to speak, elevates the greater doctors amongst the family doctors? Okay, that's a very deep Kabbalistic answer. We're going to go a little simpler. And the reason is because there's two elements here. One is that this very great tzaddik, he needs to acquire tremendous chokhmah, which is the revelation of godliness in life. That comes through tremendous learning of Torah, right? And through tremendous levels of emunah. But he also needs to have another skill. And that is, he needs to be able to mitzamtzem that light. He needs to be able to constrict that light for everybody around him. Meaning, for instance, Levi might be a little further ahead than Eli. Eli might be a little further ahead than Benny. Benny might be a little bit further ahead, and we can go on and on. Everybody's in a different space, a different location, a different station in their life. How does one teacher give everybody what they need? He can't just
say hello to my little friend.
Yeah. He can't just take the machine gun out and start shooting. You know why? Because only the person who's holding where he's holding is it going to be beneficial to him. Everybody else is going to get not
killed.
The Torah of life, but the Torah of death. So this great tzaddik, what really makes him stand out amongst all others is that he is able to give that Torah to everybody, no matter where they're holding, whether they're learning Yom V'Laila, whether they learn a little bit in the mornings, whether they never learned Torah in their life, whether they never even heard about Hashem. To the degree that a person can give it to all of them, to that degree they're a great tzaddik. And for that person who is far from da'at, knowing that everything in his life comes from Hashem, everything is for the very best, everything is in order to bring you closer to him, to that degree you need a greater doctor. Shakir otal yiparach. To recognize Hashem, that this is da'as. Da'at is not information, right? Some people, when they think about Torah, they think about it like it's fantasy football. I have, let me learn this Gemara, and let me learn this Mishnah, and let me learn this Halakha, and let me check off this box, and this box, and this box, and this box. And what do I have? A tremendous fantasy team. I have LBJ. Yeah, I have LGBTQT. I haven't watched sports in a few years, but yeah. Well, not today. You don't know. Okay. So I have a tremendous fantasy team. What's the one thing I'm lacking though? The whole point of all of the Torah is to get you to realize that everything is from Hashem. That's the da'at. That it says every day, Aleinu, you should know and you should take it to your heart. We say this 3 times in Aleinu, that Hashem's above, He's below. Ain't there's nothing else beside Him. That is the da'at. So if the Torah learning that you're learning is not bringing you closer to that place, that's not Torah Chaim. And in fact, you could end up in a more difficult, more challenging place because of that.
Because it's supposed to be healing you.
Because it's supposed to be healing you and it's not. And you see the other people, at least those secular people, they're doing this, they're doing that, and they're having fun, and they're having happy. And then you have the guy, he's Omek, he's learning day and night. He can't lift his back up because he hasn't lifted up for his days, but he's got a big smile on his face because he left this world completely. And now what about us? That we believe, but we're not doing this. And we don't believe not enough that we can go back to doing that. So we're stuck in limbo. We're stuck in limbo. However, if you understand that the truth is that the Torah is supposed to bring you to da'at, to know that Hashem is above, He's below, there's nothing else besides Him, then anyone can do that at any station of their life. But only through the tzaddik that can give you that illumination that no matter where you are, no matter where you're holding, no matter what you've done in your life, no matter what you're doing in your life, He's right there. Rabbi Nachman says that the entire essence of a real tzaddik is he's able to show a person who thinks he knows that he doesn't know anything, and he's able to show a person that he thinks he doesn't know Hashem at all, that He's right there. Obviously, this is a very difficult task, right? Because everyone is forced to come to this. That only because of this does He come to the world. And the whole world was only created for this, for you. That the Zohar says very famously, in order that you should know Hashem. That you should know Hashem. There is no avoiding this. Everyone is brought down into this world. Whether you succeed in business, whether you don't succeed in business, whether you have health, whether you don't have health, whether you learn Torah, whether you don't learn Torah. Everyone is coming down for one reason. The Zohar says that you should know Hashem. And what does it mean to know Hashem? Chonein da'at. We say it every day, 3 times a day. That chokhmah, bin, and da'at, they are all coming from you. What does it mean they all coming from you? That you are everything, and that is the chokhmah, bin, and da'at. Nobody leaves this world without figuring that out. You have to know. So when a person says, why is it that I started doing hipodadut, I started asking Hashem for things in my life, Hashem's not giving it to me, I don't understand why, and then they give up. Because then Hashem would be cruel. Because you would have missed the point of your life. Because you came down here to know Hashem, not to get a paycheck. So what's going to happen if He gives you a paycheck and then you don't know Hashem because of that? You just know that He answered your prayer. But you don't realize that the cause of your money is Hashem. That the cause of your wife's situation is Hashem. That the cause of your children is Hashem. That the cause of your own issues is Hashem. That Ein Omavada, there's nothing else besides Hashem. Then Hashem would bring you down here and you would have missed the point of your life. And that would be very, very sad. It would be a big shame. Because at the end of everything, like when my grandmother passed away a month ago, and you see that she lives for 80-something years, and then one day she's just not here anymore, and you're burying her with all of her family. What do you leave with? I didn't see anybody throwing $100 bills in there. I didn't see anybody throwing anything in there except for the dirt of Yerushalayim. Thank God. This was a big bracha. You don't go down with any of that. You're not living. You die for it. You die for it. Rabbi Nachman says a person who chases after money, he has Gehenna in this world. He doesn't have to wait. He gets to experience it right now. I'm looking for it, turning up empty. I'm looking for it, turning up empty. I got it, I need more. And it never ends. It doesn't ever end.
Just try to have one though. It's like if you know this one.
No, you don't just get one, you get both.
At least
You come back again. Don't worry, you're gonna come back. Why? Because Hashem would be cruel if he didn't bring you back. Can you imagine? I gave birth to a child because I want to give him the ultimate good. And then he got a Snickers bar. Are they kosher? Okay. He got a kosher Snickers bar. Not Chalav Yisrael? Okay. Okay, we got to get a different one over here. What's a Chalav Yisrael bar? What? Click.
Oh, you did so well.
I gave you a click bar. Yeah, you found a click bar. And you came to your Abba and said, Abba, I just want a click bar. And your dad knows you could be one of the greatest tzaddikim of the whole generation. You could know the whole Torah Kula. Even at 10 years old, you could literally be so immersed in das and knowing that everything comes from Hashem, but all you wanted was a click bar. Can you imagine if your dad gave it to you, how cruel he would be? Cruel, of course. Because he could have had so much more. Every Jew is a tzaddik. Kulam tzaddikim. We're all tzaddikim. What is a tzaddik? He lives be'emunah. What's the emunah? That everything comes from Hashem. You cannot avoid this thing. You cannot avoid this thing. And if you try to avoid this thing, chas v'shalom, you'll find a sick person in your house. If you try to avoid this thing, chas v'shalom, you'll find you can't make money. If you try to avoid this thing, chas v'shalom, you'll find another problem. Nobody can avoid this thing because in the end, the kindest thing Hashem could do is to bring you to the purpose of your life. Because this world is
just to get close to him.
to know him, which means to be close to him. To know that everything's from him.
So you're gonna get it in any way.
Anyway,
No,
because
Hashem gets everything.
because he loves you. Yeah, Hashem gets everything. Hashem gets everything. Don't be fooled. Don't think to yourself,
So the guy with
my
money
friends are
has
living
what?
good. Wait, just wait.
This one has money. This one has health.
Just
this one has-
wait. I promise you, just wait. Every single person in this world has to confront this reality. Whether it's when you're 60 years old and you see your parent pass away, and only at that point you start thinking to yourself, well, I'm not going to be here forever. Or it's a person who has a health crisis as a kid, or he has some type of trauma. Nobody can avoid this thing. You didn't come down here to play video games. I know because I used to play a lot of them. You didn't come down here for that.
You're on a very good point right now.
Thank you very much. You're here for I'm just kidding. You're here for a very short time. Short. Listen, how old are you? Don't worry, it's not on you. How old are you? It's okay? Even by you guys, it's not.
32.
Okay, I'm 31, 24. How old are you?
I can't.
Oh, you can't say. How old are you?
I
19.
can tell you, but not everyone.
Okay.
Yo, how old are you?
I can.
Yeah, 24. Okay, but there is an age range here for sure from, let's say 10 to probably 40, 45. If you ask somebody, 50, can you have imagined being as old as you are, how fast that would have gone? So imagine 2 times what you are right now, and you're closer now to the end.
Death.
What do you think you're going to think then? How fast everything went.
I got 40 more years.
Okay. Bezrat Hashem, you should all live till 120.
We don't know how long we have.
We don't know how long we have. That's right. You could have right now. But even if you don't have Hayom, even if you didn't just have, it really is Hayom anyway. Because this life literally passes by. Shlomo Melech said, I learned everything. I saw everything. This life ends very quick. He actually passed away a little bit early. But the point is to take advantage of everything in your life. What is taking advantage of what's in my life? To try and know Hashem today. Don't think to yourself, yeah, but if I start now, what's going to happen a week from now? If I start now, what's going to happen a month from now? Then I'm going to have to make changes in my life. Then I'm going to have to stop hanging out with certain people. Then I'm going to have to start doing this. It's like a whole balagan. I'd rather just
take it one day at a time.
All you have to do is one thing, Hayom, today. They used to say about Rabbi Nachman when he was a kid, as he got older, he had so much nisayanot. He had so many challenges and difficulties in his life. And he had such a heavy load of learning and praying. He used to learn the entire Torah from the beginning to the end every single year. That's a great question. And he used to do hours of Hibodedut every day. Okay? And he used to teach Torah to Jewish people, especially those who were very far. How do you do all of that? And the answer is only if you have Hayom. Rabbi Nachman said the biggest thing that separates those tzaddikim that we have all heard and admire and respect from those people who we don't, or those people who didn't make it, there is only one thing, he says. Those people did not believe in tomorrow. Tomorrow. That all the tzaddikim that we revered, they only lived as if Hayom. There was today. What today? To go know Hashem. To the best of your ability. If that means that you spend 5 minutes talking to Hashem, if that means that you learn a little bit of Gemara, if that means that you learn a Mishnah, if that means that you learn a Halacha, if that means that you do all of it, everybody at their own level. But to what degree can you know Hashem today?
So it's thinking about tomorrow arrogant, ignorant?
It's ignorant. It's ignorant.
Is there such a concept of planning for the future?
There is, but the planning for the future is active. Meaning that I am, let's say for instance, I have a goal to live in the land of Israel. So what would it mean? How can I move to the land of Israel if I don't plan? I have to plan a little bit, no? So how does that planning look? It's active planning. Meaning I don't say to myself, in a week from now, I'm going to start to plan something. It means right now, today, I'm going to do something that's going to help me get closer to the land of Israel. Even if it's also considered within today. This is the whole chap. There is only Hayom. Even by planning. Hayom, 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 Hayom. Now, obviously, that's going to take a lot of emunah. For emunah, you're going to have to learn. And to learn, you're also going to have to pray. So you're going to need to have like a little tiny seder, or maybe more, that you have a time every day that you draw down da'at, that you know everything is from Hashem. Whoever does that for you the best, whoever is the great rabbi that you need, that you then talk to Hashem about those things that you learned, and you ask Hashem, can I please be able to actually mekayim and do these things? Why? Because we know, like somebody spoke to me recently privately, so I won't say who it is. He said, I know in my head that everything is from Hashem. I really do. But I have so much trouble actually living with that. I spent my life struggling financially with my family. And now I can't stop running after it because I'm scared I'm not going to have it. But I know that the only way I'm going to have a moon is to be patient. And if I'm going to be patient, then I'm going to have to stop. So I don't know what to do. It's hard. I told him I totally relate with you. I completely resonate with you. I said you should know the only way to do it is not to stop. It's to redirect your rutzon.
Can't stop, won't stop.
It's not about taking a hose and putting it on your rutzon. It's about redirecting your rutzon to knowing Hashem. And I told him the same thing that I just told you guys. If you run after Hashem like you run after money, you're going to find Hashem just like you're going to find money. Oh, but it's very hard every day to talk to Hashem. It's not hard to go to work for 8 hours. It's not hard that every single day you have this person insulting you, this person lowballing you, this person falling through the deal, you not finding the... Yeah, whatever. That's not hard. I know I used to work. It was brutal.
Yeah, especially what they used to put you through.
No, thank God. This was great. Thank God. The truth is that led to this.
Yeah.
100%.
Can you imagine? Fish.
That led to this, for sure.
On the slice of the fish, yog in the line.
For sure. You should know I felt like as soon the first day that I got to that restaurant, whatever that restaurant was, as soon as the owner told me, whenever you're not working, you can learn, you should learn. For me, that was it. It was a match made in heaven. I was there, thank God, and only because of that scoot, I was able to learn in yeshiva and do what I'm doing.
Your zodiac really played a thing for you.
Because I'm a fish?
Yeah.
Zodiac wrong?
Wow.
No, he's trying to say the fish ended up in the fish house. Okay. Thank God. Okay. So we'll do a little bit more and then we'll stop.
We're playing with holy neshama.
This is the concept of arousing from sleep. Ki ikar hashena, because the essence of sleep nimshach me'amat shezot bechina is drawn from this place. Shechi bechinat malchut. That is the malchut. What does that mean? Haseichel tachton. This lower wisdom. He samuch lechitzonim. That it's relying on externality. Why is that? Because we know that when you look at the sfirot, what's the lowest sfira? Malchut. And what does the Arizal teach about that? What does Kabbalah teach about and Chassidut teach about the fact that Malchut is the lowest sfira? What does it make it most vulnerable to? The Sitra Achra. So those negativity, those challenges, those obstacles that are playing in our life, whether they are coming from outside of us, from our friends and family, whether they're coming from inside of us, from our own inner difficulties and challenges, our own struggles, our own, so to speak, demons and skeletons in the closet, whether they're coming from the community or society, these are all different expressions and projections of the Sitra Achra. Who is most vulnerable to that? The Malchut. In the language of Kabbalah and Chassidut, this was manifested by David. The reason why King David suffered more than anybody, and yet he's the Mashiach, is because he's the Malchut. Because the Malchut is in the lowest place, and at the same time, he's right above the Sitra Achra. So the Koach of David is that he's able to bring up those people who are furthest, and at the same time, the vulnerability that he has is why are they so far? Because they're trapped. And he has to go down into those places with them. That's why the Shekhinah is crying every day. That's why the Chazal say the Mashiach is suffering every day for the whole world. Why? Because he's down there with them. You want to see where Mashiach is? Look for the sick people. And what are we saying is a person who's sick? Those who are far from Da'at. So look there. Mashiach's in Rome. Nachon? But this is the lower wisdom. Ki madrega, hi madrega achrona shel hakadusha ki yadua. This is the last madrega of holiness. And we know that what's that madrega, this lower wisdom? It's called emunah. That she is trapped in secular wisdom. That your emunah is trapped in secular wisdom. And what is emunah? To believe that Hashem is machadesh. That Hashem can renew and does renew it every single moment. Just like he made everything one way for this amount of time, so too he can take it and change it and make it something different. That's emunah. But that emunah, you'll say, who has that type of emunah? Who really believes that? Not many people. You know why? Because that part of you is very vulnerable. That part of you is always fighting with the Sitra Achra, who's constantly trying to capture her. Because the whole entire Iker of Geula is taking the Malchut out of exile, is taking Emunah out of exile, is taking that lower wisdom out of exile. Therefore, because it's the lowest level of Kedusha and what's below it is the Sitra Achra, therefore it falls many times on them. And Rabbi Natan explains that the Sitra Achra is made up of the four kingdoms. We know that the Jewish people were exiled 4 times. Okay? These are made up by 4 kingdoms. If you want to think about it more personally, though, these are, so to speak, all of the different influences in your life which are drawing you away from Hashem. They're all encompassed within these 4 kingdoms. And Rabbi Nachman explains in the Likutey Halachot, those 4 kingdoms, or the 4, all, so to speak, they encompass all the types of secular wisdom. Because even, let's say, for instance, you struggle, you wake up for a second. You want to go learn Torah. But then you say to yourself, yeah, but I'm not going to be able to support myself if I learn today. Even for 10 minutes, I'm going to miss that business deal. Where did you get that thought from? Was that coming from your lower wisdom? Was that coming from your malchut? Was that coming from your emunah? No. It's coming from the 4 kingdoms that kidnapped her. And now you're responding to the 4 kingdoms. Shehem bechinat chochmot chitzoniyot. They're the concept of external wisdom or secular wisdom. Shehem rotzim lamshich, that they desire to draw down this seichel into them. Likaber ayadei zeh seichel b'chochma chitzoniyot shelachem. That they strengthen on them this seichel b'chochma chitzoniyot, this secular wisdom on them. Why are they doing that? Because all life force, all chiyut comes from chokhmah. Like it says, that chokhmah gives life to those who possess it. Rabbi Nachman, he explains that that's literal. Meaning not just that it gives life in some type of intellectual way, and that if you have it, then you're going to be happy, and if you don't. No, that literally the life force of a Jewish neshama is his chokhmah, is his wisdom, his knowledge of Hashem, that he knows it's from Hashem. That's what gives him life. Yeah, chokhmah emunah, very good. So that's the lower one. So now, if that's the life force, where do the forces of negativity in the world get their life force from? They only get it from the malchut. They only get it from your own emunah. So if you're wondering to yourself why you're always struggling with your emunah, it's because it's living right above the darkness. And it's constantly being taken there. Why? Because that's the only way that the negativity in the world can get its life force. And Rav Natan says that if the Jewish people could all have a Emunah, even for a moment, the Geula would happen immediately. Why? Because the Malchut would be taken out of exile completely. The only reason the exile is still going is because the Sitra Achra, or the Sitra Da'achra, still has its life force. Hainu kol zaman she'ochlin shistamesh hem zeh haseichel b'kedusha. That all the time that he's able to use it with this seichel kedusha, she'uchol l'sabeb ayado levo asagat elokut. That he's able to surround through this perceptions of godliness. Who mitzvah gadola lishtamech imo b'fi mashuchal. This is a mitzvah gadola that he should apply it with him according to what he's able to. Kol echad lefi erko. Everybody according to his own ability. Aval k'shaseichel machtil lipo. However, when this seichel falls, meaning when your emunah goes into exile and it falls, umit gabrim alav bilbulim, and you fall into confusion. Because what happens as soon as you lose your emunah, even for a second, what do you feel inside? You feel confused, right? Even the person that he has convinced himself, there's no way I'm going to be able to support myself unless I learn all day and night. So even that person, when he's doing it, he doesn't feel good about it. He feels confused. Or even the person that he does decide to come and learn, but he doesn't really believe that Hashem is going to help him with whatever he needs help with. He's also in bilbul. Why is he in confusion? Because his emunah is trapped. It's in exile. What is it trapped by? Secular wisdom. Shem arba malchiot. And these secular wisdoms are the four kingdoms. Rotzim, they desire litgaber, to strengthen ulamshich, and to draw down this seichel on them. Not your higher seichel of Torah, but your lower seichel of Amunah. Sarichin lishan, that he desires that you should sleep. Shehi histalkuta da'at, that is the departure of your knowing. Because da'at is the time of day. The concept of the sun is the concept of knowing Hashem, that you experience Hashem in your life. That's daytime. Nighttime is the time for Amunah. Right. That's when your das goes into exile. And what's causing your das to go into exile? The sitra achra, the negative forces in the world, which need to live as well, which need life force as well, they can only get it from a Jew's Amunah. So what do? They draw his Amunah in. But how can they draw his Amunah in? Who would willingly give up their Amunah when a person knows that when I have Amunah, I feel great, and when I don't, I feel horrible? So the answer is, there is no way for him to get it from you that way. He can't ask you for your Amunah. You're not going to give it to him. But what could he do? He can open up a newspaper in front of you. He can have a family member come to you and be like, Mapiton, what are you doing, you fanatic? You're learning all day. How are you going to support yourself? He can have you in your own self. You have a thought that just pops up. Yeah, but is this a fantasy? Can I really do this? Where is that coming from? Secular wisdom. I heard a story before Hanukkah. There was a Chabadnik. He called me. I used to speak at a certain place, and the Chabadniks, on Shabbat, they'll travel all across New York just to go speak for like a few minutes about, whatever it is they want to speak about, usually Geula. And I guess he heard me speak, and he saw that I had a big place in my heart for Chassidut. So he's kept in touch with me, and he calls me from time to time. He lives in Australia, actually. So he called me before Hanukkah. Yeah. And he said, I'm in Scranton, Pennsylvania, or something like that. I'm like, how are you getting to all these places? So he told me like this. He said, do you know what Hanukkah is all about? I said, you tell me. He said, no, I want to hear what you think. I said, I don't know anything, but I can tell you Rabbi Nachman told me. And then he told me, I told him. So I said that the oil always represents chokhmah, or seichel, da'at, to know Hashem. And we had a little bit of pure da'at left. We had a little bit of chokhmah left. What ended up happening? That all the rest were contaminated. I said, what's the contamination led to? Secular wisdom. Yavan. That because of the secular wisdom, and it said, what about Acher? Acher was the Talmid Chacham of the generation. And the Gemara says, how did Acher end up leaving? I understand a person, he doesn't know anything, he can leave. How does a person who knows everything leave? And the answer is, they said that they always saw him reading Greek wisdom. Oh, here's the riot to Rabbi Nachman. How does Acher go from being something else to Acher? We don't even refer to him by his name anymore because he left the boat. Acher went into the Sitra Achra. So the answer is, secular wisdom is the only way you can get everybody. So he told me, yes, that's exactly what the Rebbe says. I said, okay, good. So then he told me a story. It was a great story. there was a Jewish boy, and he was learning all the time, and he was praying all the time, and he was really motivating to those people around him. They got chizuk from him. And one day they saw that he just kind of was troubled. He was really, really troubled. He stopped learning as much. He stopped praying as much. They came up to him, asked him what was wrong. He said, I'm fine, this and that. But they saw that he was suffering. He was struggling, and he just went off the boat. And they said, how can you do that? You're learning all the time. You're praying all the time. You're motivating us. You're giving us chizuk. Go speak to the Rebbe. Tell him what's going on with you. So he said, okay, fine. So he sent a letter to the Rebbe.